Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. We are moving towards the end of August 2019, and we still do not have our Alpha 3.6.x interim patch. I wanted to talk about delays, the roadmap, and where is my 3.6.x patch and my 890 jump? I want my 890 jump! Alpha 3.6.x is supposed to contain the Origin 890 jump and the ship rentals feature, though there could also be quality of life updates with it too. Alpha 3.6 saw delays to its live release, and it had various issues that required a 3.6.1 patch, which has then since been deployed. 3.6.1 is far from bug and issue 3 though, so we're going to see this throughout Star Citizen's Alpha. All the patches that the Alpha has are going to be pretty buggy. There's going to be issues with them. They're not going to be a complete game, that's for sure. Bounty Hunter missions not spawning. The target is probably the most egregious bug for me at the moment, though there are certainly others. That said, the 3.6.1 build is actually incredibly stable, for me at least, with great frame rates, and I think maybe I've crashed once, maybe, since I started playing that. And that's pretty good. However, Alpha 3.7 is supposed to be released to live in 6 weeks. Now, CIG obviously, historically, delay patches if they aren't ready, or have blockers preferring to keep a patch until it's in a better state and on PTU until it's live. That, however, means that there's very little time to get a 3.6.x patch out. I mean, it's not even with Ivacana yet, so it's possible that the turnaround from testing to live for a relatively minor patch could be extremely quickly though, so keep that in mind. Another thing to consider here as well is how the game and dev branches work. When CIG are preparing an update like 3.6 for example, they break off all the features and content they want from the main dev branch, which contains everything that's being worked on for Star Citizen and Squadron 42 in whatever state it's in, but just the features that are required for a patch are broken off and then worked on. They get those features into a state that can go to Ivacana, and then there's more interaction and fixes with more and more backers getting access to that patch, and eventually, after enough iteration, that goes out to live. And once a game branch is released to live, it might receive a minor patch or hotfixes, but the idea is that all of the work that's done on those branches is then reabsorbed into the main dev branch before they then split off features for the next patch cycle from the dev branch again. So it absorbs all of 3.6's NOMI goodness that they've updated and iterated on in the sort of like Ivacana and PTU phases, and then reabsorbed into the dev branch, bam, and then they break off the new features that they need for the next cycle, so 3.7 for example. This process typically takes a few weeks though, or at least historically has. CIG's tooling and experience with it may have streamlined that process a little bit. One of the problems that we saw with 3.6 was that they decided to break off features for an interim 3.6.x patch, rather than delaying those features, the ship rentals and 890 jump, to 3.7. The game branches do not preclude CIG working on later features though, so yeah, they might break off a load of features for 3.7, but they can be working on features for 3.8, 3.9, beyond that, lots of other stuff, iterating on things that aren't part of any of those patches. This is true of ships as well, but the whole process works better, as far as I'm aware, when CIG are not working on minor and .x patches, as they have more time to dedicate to the next major build, rather than having to reabsorb that branch, smaller branches, smaller patches, and then those like smaller fixes they do constantly. It just takes more time out for that process of reabsorbing and then breaking it back off again. The 890 jump is currently sitting at 191 of 251 tasks complete. That's 60 tasks yet to be completed. Conversely, ship rentals have 1 of 2 tasks completed. So they only need 1 more to be complete. Now, when it comes to these tasks, a single task can be entirely super minor. It could be a prop needing to be finished off or completed, a lighting pass of a particular room or area, or making collision work in this sort of like area of a room, or a bug that they've discovered that they need to fix. It is dependent on the individual ship or feature though. It can be significantly larger. It can be the full lighting pass of the entire ship as a single task, but typically it will be one task such as that would also be broken down into multiple tasks. So you'd have one for the whole lighting pass of the ship, but also like 68 tasks for each individual room, because there's 68 rooms in the 890 jump. It's one of the more annoying and more vague things about the roadmap. The tasks listed for features could be massive or incredibly minor, there's not much indication of which they are. Typically, if a feature has hundreds of tasks to complete for it, then a good portion of those will be minor tasks. Recently, CIG confirmed that they're still planning on getting the 3.6.x patch out at some point. I suspect that that is planned for the end of August. That's the most sensible time for them to try and have that patch out by now. I think that some people would prefer a more stable time frame for these patches, even if it meant, yeah, we're going to have to roll those features into 3.7, and if they told us that earlier, great. For me, it's about communication. Just tell us at the earliest possible stage about changes to the roadmap, about problems, about blockers, whatever, and where the near future features are from week to week, and those updates that they give with them. If that changes, no problem, just tell us. One of the issues CIG has is that the roadmaps are a double-edged sword. It shows off what CIG have planned for the next few quarters and months in form of the releases and progress and that sort of stuff, and it's very, very transparent of what they've got with the project. However, it doesn't show everything, and with the Squadron 42 roadmap being a full roadmap to completion that doesn't require a release every 3 months, that is actually quite a good roadmap. That's very full. It shows us all the steps they need, or at least a larger portion of them, of what they need for completion of Squadron 42. Star Citizen's Persistent Universe is only for the next few releases, and it's a live alpha product, which, when things get moved or delayed, it's much more obvious and apparent in those sort of like live builds, because you're waiting for the next thing. They've hyped up something when you are expecting Salvage to be in 2018 and they've delayed it. You're disappointed because it's not in your hands. I'd like to go over the roadmap caveats that were updated a little while ago with what CIG recognises to what the sort of roadmaps should show, what they should reflect, some of the development goals for the project, and the differences with Squadron 42's development. In the words of CIG, they are trying to have feature-driven roadmaps. While the Persistent Universe has shifted to a milestone-driven schedule of quarterly installments, we are happy to showcase work in progress to our community. The focus of Squadron 42 is to deliver an experience that contains both the narrative and feature scope we envision in one final game. As such, Squadron 42 will only be released when it has achieved the final polished creative vision that they want for it. If there are any slips in the quarterly goals, this will push out the project's end date. Feature complexity. As Squadron 42 is a single-player experience, the complexity of some features can be simpler than on the Persistent Universe, where additional considerations need to be made to ensure a fun multiplayer experience. This means that a Squadron 42 feature may be complete sooner or have less development tasks than its counterpart on the Persistent Universe roadmap. Quality will always be their #1 goal. When we initially set out this journey, we looked at the gaming landscape and asked, can we do better? We continue to ask that question about everything we do. As a result, we will always extend timelines or redo features and content if they do not feel that they're up to their standards. The freedom to fight for a new level of quality in game development is what crowdfunding has allowed us to do, and we continue to fight to make sure Star Citizen and Squadron 42 are the best possible games they can be. Now, I'd like to say something about that, although that's obviously at least partly true. That does give them a sort of like free pass to take as long as they want with development. And Star Citizen's lengthy development is something I do not love about the project. Obviously, it is just part and parcel of it. It does take a long time for stuff to get done, and it's something you can certainly be critical of. This roadmap focuses on big features, but is not fully exhaustive. There are a lot of behind-the-scenes work and smaller tasks that will be happening, as well as ongoing improvements to existing features. This is not intended to be a final list. There will potentially be additional features added down the line, and features may shift in their projected release. The roadmap data is pulled directly from their internal project management database. In the spirit of transparency, the data found on this page is pulled directly from Jira, our internal database, that we are using to plan and manage the project. Feature progress and release plans will be updated here in an automated fashion once per week. Now, they don't always put out full updates, in my opinion, with those roadmaps either. So some bits are left off, as they've basically said, which is a little bit annoying. I want to know about all elements of the project. I don't want stuff to be hidden away. I don't want stuff to be kept back. I want to know about what features they are planning to work on and evolve into what state. What are the plans for those features? And I want to see that from every patch. I would have loved to have known some of the stuff they were putting in 3.6 that they hadn't listed, like, for example, the sort of like hacking missions on the Comrays, being able to hack down your crime stats and stuff, or hack over those comm arrays using the crypto keys. Those were things we didn't actually know were going to be in 3.6, and they just sort of appeared there. Future work estimates are just that, estimates. All estimates are based on our knowledge and experience, but there are many aspects of game development that are impossible to predict because they literally cover uncharted territory. You will see the same estimates we use in our internal planning, but it is important to understand that in many cases, especially with groundbreaking engineering tasks, these estimates are often subject to change due to unforeseen complexity in implementing the features. Internal schedules, the ones you will now be privy to, tend to have aggressive dates. This helps the team focus and scope their tasks, especially in the case of tech development. Every team needs target dates, so you may see dates adjust when we get more accurate information and understanding of what is needed to be completed. The polish phase is always hard to estimate, increasingly so in online multiplayer situations. The complexity and difficulty in testing at a large scale makes it harder to reproduce and isolate bugs to fix them. We base our estimates again on our experience, but we also know that there's the possibility for a single bug to cause a delay of days or weeks when 100 others might be fixed instantly. So this roadmap doesn't cover everything being worked on across Cloud Imperium games. The roadmap is meant to highlight their aims for the remainder of the year on the persistent universe. Although technology is shared between the two games, this doesn't actually fully reflect the Squadron 42 roadmap, which will be subsuming as much of that tech as it can, as and when is possible. So there's something else to consider beyond this roadmap, and it's staffing as well. CIG are still filling jobs. They have over 550 staff members, pushing towards 600 employees at the moment across their studios. Not all of those are devs though, so bear that in mind. Some of them are going to be admin staff and janitors and things like that. There were around 110 or 107 jobs listed on Cloud Imperium Games' website last month. That's now down to 80. These range from concierge, customer service, to day porters, to system designers, to AI coders, and much, much more. That looks to me like they've filled around 30 positions that they needed in the last month or so. Also, they have previously said that the roadmap, especially to the mid and long-term end goals, are dependent on them having appropriate staff positions filled. And assuming that they don't need all jobs being filled, just a proportion of them to meet those deadlines. They did also say, again more recently, that they were trying to set those roadmaps in a position where they were less aggressive so they could try and meet deadlines and the feature sets they said were possible. So where is your 890 jump and the 3.6.x patch and ship rentals and all that sort of jazz? Well, it's waiting for 60 tasks to be completed for the 890 jump and 1 task to be completed for the ship rentals, and is most likely, in my opinion, going to be in your hands at the end of August 2019. But with future patches, CIG will want to try and meet their date-driven schedule as much as possible, so expect to see less interim patches like the mythical 3.6.x patch, and features that don't meet a deadline will much more likely be moved to the next major patch. There may be some caveats and sort of like stipulations to that as well. Things like server-side object container streaming, things like full persistence, they are going to want to get in as soon as possible, so bear that in mind, and we could see interesting patch dates because of that, or hopefully we will see server-side object container streaming in the very near future anyway. That said, I think we might see Citizen Cons having minor or interim patches, as I expect ship releases and in-game events to happen around that time. That said, these won't be listed on the roadmap. Squadron 42's momentum towards completion and getting the core mechanics and engine improvements in Star Citizen's Persistent Universe will be extremely useful for a more focused development of the game in the future as well, and hopefully should make those roadmaps more accurate. That said, Squadron 42 really needs to be a good game as well, and to get a release date in the not too distant future, they need to start marketing Squadron 42. They need to say, right, we're getting it ready for then. It is nearing, it is getting very, very close to a more critical crunch time for CIG with the progress they're making on Squadron 42, with the roadmap they've got shown. It shows that they've got a beta planned for Q2 2020. Now that could be pushed back a quarter or two, but if it's pushed back much more than that, that's not going to be a good look for the game. And that's going to be a litmus test, Squadron 42 Episode 1, for whether CIG can sort of have the vision and make good games, I suppose. But what do you think? Are you expecting to see 3.6.x by the end of the month? Or do you think that CIG may delay 890 jumps and rentals to 3.7? Do you expect them to try and keep the 3.7 release date at the end of September? Or do you expect more delays with that live release? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Every month we have a giveaway. For August, we are giving away a Drake Corsair bundled with an 8-inch Fire tablet and 12 months of Game Glass. Game Glass makes software allowing you to turn touchscreen devices, like tablets and mobiles, into immersive controllers for Star Citizen. But not just Star Citizen, Elite Dangerous is getting support next, and there's plans for lots more games to support this. You can use Game Glass for free, but there are paid options as well, giving you even more functionality. Please follow the links down below to get more info or to download. I'm still also shilling for NordVPN. If you're looking for a VPN, they are very cheap and have many benefits over free services. They help protect you and your privacy online, but it also makes it easier to access various websites as well. And there's Shadow 2, giving you remote access to a Windows 10 gaming PC of your very own so that you can effectively turn any appropriate device, your smartphone, a computer, a laptop, whatever, into this much more beefy machine. Subscription cloud services, in my opinion, are the way forward, and for some are going to be very appealing instead of sort of maintaining their own PC. For all of those, please follow the links below or use the code BoredGamer to get a discount. A massive thank you for watching. Please consider liking and sharing this content as well as pressing the bell icon to get informed when a video goes live. Consider Patreon or becoming a YouTube member too if you'd like to further support the channel. Thanks for watching, guys. Please take care, and I'll see you in the verse.